My heart is
Almost there,
racing.
too. You're live on YouTube. Go
Hi,
for it.
everyone.
Hi.
Thank you all for being here and tuning in to this special edition of PechaKucha, which we're doing in collaboration with City Lab DAR. And in a bit, I'll hand over to them to explain who they are and everything. PechaKucha, for those of you who don't know or you're new here, is a concept that started in Japan. And luckily tonight we have the founders here to talk about it as well and to, just big up and everything. And so with much further ado, I'm going to open up my screen so everyone can see what's going on. And I think we can get this started with Mark. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to open my mic. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me there?
Okay, can hear you now.
Okay, perfect.
I think this runs through 20 seconds and then it'll be your time. Are you guys ready?
Chiming in, Mark, just saying hello.
Yeah, we good.
For it, though,
I didn't realize it was going to take.
So I'm really glad to be.
Yeah.
So it's Brian and I. I'm Mark. I'm the co-founder of PechaKucha. We started it in 2003, and Brian has been working with us as a global coordinator. So why don't I just kick off and tell you a little bit about ourselves. So along with Astrid Klein, my business partner, and Yukinari Hisayama, we're Klein Dytham Architects. We're based in Tokyo. We have a day job. We build buildings. This is one of them. It's Ginza Place, right in the heart of Tokyo on the main crossroads. And it's a large showroom for Nissan. Back in 2002, we established an art space called Super Deluxe. And we had many, many crazy events there. And on those dead nights, we didn't have anything to happen. And so we decided that it was the dawn of digital photography and keynote on the Mac. And we were running these sort of meetings every Monday morning, showing people and our staff what we did and where we went. We thought, wouldn't that be great to allow other architects and designers to show what they do? And we'd have a visual show and tell because we had digital photography and keynote on the Mac and projectors. And this is how PechaKucha Night started. So PechaKucha, as you might say, is the word or the name for the sound of chit chat in Japanese. PechaKucha. It's an onomatopoeia, so it sounds like it sounds. And it was a one-off event. And one of the key things about PechaKucha is we try and find people who are hidden heroes in a city, people that have never spoken before. And this guy, he builds construction fences around some of Tokyo's biggest construction sites. He's 63, he'd never spoken before, but he got a really amazing story to tell. And this is what we try and find with PechaKucha. And it spread from a one-off event in 2003 to today, an amazing 1,235 cities around the world. And you're an amazing city for us, and we're really pleased that you run PechaKucha. We're really pleased that we can connect tonight. It's so funny during this moment of COVID and the pandemic around the world. It's brought us much closer together through these Zoom calls. So why has PechaKucha become so popular? Well, I think it's because of the very simple format, 20 slides, 20 seconds. It's fun, fast, and friendly format. Everybody can get their head around it, and people don't talk too much. That was one of the reasons we set it up, because architects always talk too much. And we want you to look, listen, and think at those still images. There's no video, there's no moving lower 1/3, there's no Anderson Cooper telling you when the next thing's coming up. We want you to concentrate on the image. And 20 seconds is quite long. So, and also the restriction. It's a level playing field, whether you're a famous architect or a student. It's just like a Big Mac. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's always 400 seconds, 20 by 20. Although most PechaKucha nights are like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get, and everybody has an interesting and different story to tell. One of the most important things is it's not just a format. It's a community, and the community has become very important and very strong over the 17 years that we've been running this. And again, in this moment of the pandemic, it's been amazing how the community has come together. Back in 2011, on March the 9th, there was this huge earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear issues in Japan. 130,000 buildings were destroyed instantly with the tsunami, and almost 1 million buildings were damaged in one way. Japan was really struggling, and it was a very, very difficult moment. But the PechaKucha community got together, and only 1 month after the earthquake and tsunami, we held a global event to inspire Japan. And we were still in Japan at the time. We've been in Japan for over 30 years. And it was really amazing that the community got together, because Japan's been such an inspiration for culture and design. We really had to help it, cheer it up, and get it back on its feet. 100 cities got together, and we raised $100,000. And we helped build new community centers. And we started running these PechaKucha events where we're trying to find the stories behind the earthquake. And that was been really amazing. We built a really amazing archive called, based on this word, inspire. And so we felt for the pandemic too, we needed to get together and inspire the world back. And we held our first event on the 15th of April, a large event. And we were trying to find positive stories about the pandemic, positive stories, creative stories. Here is Nozaina. He's designed this amazing mask. You just take an A4 folder, you could put a couple of clips in it, and it turns it into a face mask. So these really, really amazing stories. And we've been running these Inspire things in Christchurch and in Nepal as well. What we've also done is we've launched a new piece of software called PechaKucha Create. You can find the link on the PechaKucha website. And this allows anybody to make a PechaKucha presentation online and share it with the community. You don't have to be at a live event like this. You can make your story using this software. You simply upload 20 slides, voice and share it. And that's been really important here, where somebody, in fact, one of our interns, she went back to Wuhan to see her parents and was stuck there for 76 days with the lockdown, but she was able to tell her story through PechaKucha and through PechaKucha Create. And so it's become a really, really important tool. It's also allowed us to run competitions. This is our first competition we're running with the World Architecture Festival. It's open until August the 31st, and anybody can submit an idea about how isolation transformed. So please have a look at that too across on our website. So this tool has been really, really useful. It's also allowed us, as we said, to connect in many different ways. I know we're working with large groups and organizations around the world. This is Frank Lloyd Wright's home and studio, and we ran a really large global event with them with 1,500 people on the Zoom call, and we connected all of Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings in the US. So I want to say thank you to your city. It's really fantastic to connect. Let's keep in touch. And as I say, let's hope the pandemic moves on. But now I'm really, really glad that we've connected in this way. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
I'm going to clap myself.
Yeah, got the clap going on. Let me, so I need to exit out of this. Apologies, guys. Keynote's not the nicest.
Well done. I'm glad it's all working. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's going, it's going. And so next up, I want to introduce Priscilla from City Lab Dar, who herself has got a bit of a presentation. Priscilla, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you. And before I go, if somebody can help two of our presenters who haven't been able to join with the audio, and they will need the audio very soon. But good evening, everybody in Dar es Salaam. Good afternoon, good morning to people around the world. I am Priscilla Izard. I'm the head of the City Lab Dar es Salaam, and I wanted to say thank you for all the people that organized this event. Also want to acknowledge a little bit more of the City Lab team, and then tell you how the Pecha Kucha tonight fits with the projects that we do. So a big thank you to Emmanuel Navique, who is going to talk about after me and also introduce the Pecha Kucha, to Upendo Mbunda, Guamaca Lucas, Edgar Luchadio, Yoktan Nyondwi, and Dr. Linorata Mbuya, who also has a lot of the City Lab activities. Don't know if who can see who in the Zoom screen, but thank you very much to you all. I'm going to start, which I should have started already. Let me share my screen. And go on with my presentation. Can you all, can you see the presentation? All right.
Yeah,
All
perfect.
Right. Yeah. So the City Lab is an action research platform that sits at RD University at the Institute of Human Settlement Studies, or IHSS. RD is the main university in Dar es Salaam that looks at urban transformation and land management and everything related to the built environment. And IHSS is the research arm of RD. At the City Lab, we look at the transformation of Dar es Salaam. It's something that happens every day. Oh, sorry, why can I not change my screen? Okay. Through the actions of a variety of groups, individuals, local communities, informal workers, artists, creatives, and that most times don't participate in the discussions about transformation in the city. And we work in a way to set up a safe space for debate about the role of these groups in transforming the city and in a safe space. We work through a number of innovative projects. So, for example, we do urban walks, which are guided neighborhoods explorations, where we experience what happens with local communities every day, how places change, and how people protect their livelihoods. We then reflect about those experiences that we have and organize expositions and other collective discussions to amplify the debate, but also include more groups in these discussions. So we are really working to see the transformation in Dar as something that happens on the ground with, you know, the everyday activities. And we keep repeating this idea of the everyday because it's really like not just related to these big developments that come to the city, but what people do every day at the local level. And when we look at that, of course, this is a proxy for other cities around the world. We also look at particular groups. So, for example, last year, we organized a visual competition on the issue of claiming space in Dar. And we asked the artistic community and the creatives to visually represent how they saw the way that spaces were used in Dar es Salaam, despite the way that they were planned for. We are also involved in a project called Women to Watch, where we look at the role of women in transforming the city and understanding that women operate from a condition of disadvantage in relation to their male counterparts, and something that has become even more clear now during the pandemic. And in this project, we are now working with young female architects and other professionals in the urban sector to shadow female leaders in the community of Kekomachungwa. And these are community leaders involved in the development of improvement of sanitation at the local level. Our goal throughout is that these experimentations and the knowledge that we are producing together, collectively, can help build a more sustainable path for the transformation of Dar es Salaam. And when we talk about more sustainable, we mean a path that allows, for example, for residents to remain living in the neighborhoods that they have chosen to do in ways that are affordable to them, and in adequate urban conditions. We also talk about informal workers and young professionals finding the work and the jobs that they aspire to with fair and being fairly paid with fair wages. And also our goal overall is that the residents of the city see their role in the transformation of the city and feel safe to discuss about this. This Pecha Kucha fits so well in this goal of listening specifically to this very important group, which is the young generation, and learning more about how you see the challenges and opportunities that you have ahead of you. And this becomes even more important at this time of pandemic around the world, when we see how situations on the ground can change very quickly and significantly and with great variation from place to place. And this is even more important in Tanzania, where 78% of the population is below the age of 35. So we often, and we always talk in our events that we discuss about very challenging issues, but we take this as an opportunity, and we are very happy and very proud to engage in a constructive debate. And this Pecha Kucha is no different. So with that, I welcome you all again, and I also welcome Emmanuel to do another presentation, a very quick introduction of the event, and then we go on to our presenters. Thank you very much. Now I'll stop sharing my screen.
Right.
Very good. Hey, that was such an interesting presentation. I think it's really important to get this message out around the world, and I think PechaKucha is going to be a really great way to do that. I'm really excited to share this with the rest of the world. It's really fantastic. Thank you so much.
Right.
Hello. Yes. So maybe I will. Hi. Yes. So I'll pick up from what Dr. Priscilla spoke. My name's Emmanuel Javike. I'm a project coordinator and a research assistant at City Lab Arab University. And I'm actually connected from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And I would like to appreciate those who are connected, because I know the huge part of Dar es Salaam is having no power as we speak. So everyone had to maneuver around to find a place where I could get connected. I had to move to a friend's place to get internet and the connection, of course. Yeah, so maybe just in brief, for us as City Lab, of course, we had no idea what Pecha Kucha is, I must say. But we wanted an intervention, a place where we could provide a platform for young people, and of course for everyone to say something or to bring out the discussion. And this is something we've been doing to reimagine the co-production of a space for young people to air out their views and to come up with something. And as I said, of course, our usual practice is when we prepare an intervention, we have a concept note. So we prepared a concept note. And it had so many things. And by then we had no idea if there's Corona coming. So we had venues, everything set up. But then since we were not really sure, even the word Pecha Kucha was not so clear in our context, then we were introduced to Miss Chi. And that's
I think we might have missed it. Emmanuel might have dropped off the call there.
Maybe the power outage just moved to his friend's house, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Don't worry, we have those issues too, all around the world.
Yeah.
So.
I think we can move on, and then Emmanuel can join back in the break. Just tell how we how we got to the Pecha Kucha, and just moving into the online event, you know, was like a discussion that happened through that's what he was trying to say, that happened through when the pandemic hit Tanzania. And it was it was a process for us to realize we could do this online. But maybe he can talk about that during the break, and we go on with the presenters now.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about that.
I think something came up and it disconnected.
Yeah, the internet was lagging a bit.
Okay. So maybe I can finalize my part. So again, with our as a platform, as a lab, to us, PechaKucha is an experiment. This event is an experiment, and we are studying from the beginning, from when we conceived the idea to the very end. We study everything, and actually, it's a way, and it could also be a good way for us to capture data, information, and the way we interact and practicability of this way of presenting. And of course, we'll be in our capacity as a university to prepare material policy intervention, things that could actually inform others that this could be one of the ways of doing things, of having discussions, and of course reach a bigger crowd. And again, I would like to finalize by appreciating Chi for connecting us, and everyone who has taken part in this. And I believe that through this platform, through this event, we will have to be not the first and the last, but just the starting point to proceed to engage, and of course having a more enlarged discussion on matters related to young people, to uncertainties, and how we not dwell on problems, but to look on the way forward on how we address these issues. Thank you very much, and all the best. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank
Emmanuel.
you.
Very nice.
Emmanuel, we should
Good job,
just say
Emmanuel.
we should just say one thing, Emmanuel, is the PechaKucha, the raison d'etre of the whole project is positivity breeds positivity. And we've been on these calls all around the world, and there's been so many difficult news, but always on PechaKucha, we have these very positive stories and very enlightening stories. And we really want to spread the news from your city, Dar es Salaam, around the world. And we welcome you to the PechaKucha network.
Thank you very much.
Off you go. I'll keep my voice to a minimum.
Yes.
No worries.
Maybe one more minute. I forgot to mention something with. I would like to acknowledge our colleagues from University of Pleasure Valley. I'm seeing Dr. Sherry, I'm seeing Anne, and everyone from University of Pleasure Valley, who we actually started this journey together, and our colleagues had to go back to Canada, but appreciation for your presence and attendance in this event. Thank you.
That's lovely. So guys, I think we're gonna get into our PechaKucha presentations from the different students that have signed up. Just to say, guys, good luck. Don't be nervous. Let's hit it off with the first one. Let me just share my screen again. Oh, can someone, sorry, Priscilla, can you please enable screen sharing for me? Hello? Okay, there we go. Okay. Right, so first off, we are starting with Paris. Are you ready? Paris?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes,
Okay.
am I discussing? Well, once upon a time, there was a pathway where it was clear and everybody could see the end and destination of everything, and that was the path and it was the early life we had. And it was easy for us to follow into footsteps of the old, whereby our parents would tell us what to do, what to study, and what to take up as our education. They could easily say we can be doctors, we can be engineers, and anything as long as we did it as the way they say. So it was easy. You just had to choose whether to be a doctor, whether to be an engineer, whether to be a customer service secretary, whatever came into your choice. It was just a predestination. You could easily get a job inside Tanzania, even outside Tanzania, and life was very easy at that moment. And it wasn't so difficult for most of the youth back then who told us our stories right now, who are right now old, and they could tell us how they became accountants, how they became programmers, how they became bankers, and it was easy for them. It wasn't a struggle like changes that happening, but the errand of time currently has turned over everything and created a different errand for us. It's currently very different for us right now, whereby youth don't have a clear known pathway as what has always been known back then. And now came this controversy of the word job. No one thought about this late in the past days. Everyone just thought of being an engineer, and it really happened. But right now, what's clicking on our heads as youth is a job, and nothing will become clear. No one will enter into this time running to be an engineer or anything without having consideration if he or she will get a job or not. And hence, time seems running out for those who believe that they had a clear destination, and hence some critical thoughts had to be made since there is this dark spot that we had. And the path wasn't also clear, and it had the different ways whereby no one knew the destination. No one knew if I would be a doctor, where would I end? If I would take courses of engineering, will I really get a job? Will I really be able to make it in life? And really it became difficult. And connecting the dots about all this and how you integrate it in a real life became difficult, and hence education that we got became very difficult to integrate it in our real life. So it became a real mess, and it wasn't really easy to connect all these dots together. And hence, critical thought had to be taught by different youth, and everyone had a different perception of what to do after they graduated, what to do after they finished school, and it gives really everyone a question to think on what they will do. And a critical thought had to be made that we have to find a solution as a youth. These are changes and they happen, and we got to make a way out. And hence everyone had to sort out by themselves. And it became a selfish realm that everyone was fighting on their own. But one of a lesson that everyone learns is a choice, a free will of choice. Since we didn't have to be guided by our parents that if you would take the engineering path or the doctorate path, that it would be the easiest for you to get a job, but it had to be a choice innate, intrinsic with abilities. And hence, the lesson learned is that everyone has a different pathway. Just like the waves, they don't have really a same route. Everyone has a different pathway. So if our parents had to pass through the doctorate, we don't have to pass through the same path. So to be successful, it had to be something we have passion with and with great determination to do it, not only seeking for a pathway. Hence, writing our own history and our own story was important to us, since we were used to be written off by our parents that you'll be a doctor, you'll be born in this family, and you're trapped in there. And that created a very ruckus confusion to youth, since most of us would go think first that we were informed by our parents that this is the right one, but found ourselves draining out, not getting the right jobs, and having a confusion of what we'll do. But the key solution was for us to draw our own ladder, to draw what we were capable of, to walk into what everyone's ability is within us. So if I were to be a cooker, if I were to be an engineer, I had to draw my own ladder and find a destination. It didn't involve me to wait for someone to draw me a way that this is the pathway, but it had to take my own effort, my own ability to determine what is my ability and what is my innate passion and what can I do best for my society and my community so as to reach the goals. And just as a potter creates all the handwork, it should be us. We have to have a youth who has the power of creation, knowing the power of how to make it on your own, how to write your own history, and how to make it happen was the key to success. And hence, it didn't involve us following the footsteps, and it involved much effort and a bit to train the farmer. It really needs you to reap and what you sowed very effortlessly, and it needs you effort and just not a smooth ladder as it was in the previous, since time had changed for all this life. And not to be taken as youth, we have to make this that we can. We have to have the intimate motivation that we can do it and we are able to do it, whatever it will. Hence, we have to have an immense motivation and not affected. Thank you.
Very nice.
Amazing. So good.
Okay.
Maybe we ought to stop the slides and get the presenter back on, and maybe yeah.
Bertha, you here?
Yes.
Okay, right. I'll just restart the slides then.
Okay. Yes, I'm here to present about the climate change together with the agricultural opportunities within that climate change. Before the climate change, as you can see in the photo, that it was greenish, but after the climate change, we can see the soil has been distracted and it's no longer attractive. There are a lot of causes of climate change, and most of them are human activities which lead to the production of greenhouse gases, which deplete the ozone layer, which in turn lead to the climate change that is happening in the world. And there are a lot of effects in climate change, including the contamination of water resources. Also, there is health problems due to the climate change. There is destruction of beaches. There is deforestation. There is biodiversity loss. Also, due to the climate change, there have been bad impacts on the soil, especially when it happens that there is heavy rains, the fertility in the soil has been taken away, but also during the drought, the soil has been distracted, and so it has led to the unproductive soil. As you can see there, the production in agriculture has been low due to the bad weather conditions, due to the climate changes. And also, it has led to the poverty. Due to that, people have been lacking the production as it was. As we can see, there is poor production on the photo there. The maize has not been growing well due to the poor soil fertility. And also, there have been a lot of changes that are happening suddenly, especially as we can refer to the coronavirus pandemic. People have not been gathered, the gatherings have been banned. Therefore, there is a narrow ground for the expression of the ideas as it was in back then. But within the same changes, we need to navigate and it has to be through adaptation of the changes and cope with the situation that are happening in the world. For example, as here we are using computers and smartphones to communicate. And also there are opportunities within the challenges. There are opportunities to be grabbed and cannot be grabbed if unless the youths are ready to get out of their comfort zones and ready to be to take risk, because no risk, no return. As a graduate, I interested in agriculture, I just passed through the government expenditure to see how the expenditure is in agriculture. But as you can see, there's a little expenditure in agriculture, and therefore this has led to the challenges, a lot of challenges to the farmers in production. For instance, there are no intensive researchers on markets, therefore the farmers remain on the dilemma on where to sell their goods. And also there have been poor production due to that. Farmers, due to that little budget from the government, farmers have opted for the other alternative ways, like seeking for the individuals to help them on their production that they may be able to produce in their farmers. And there is where the opportunity I grabbed, and I just signed the contract with the farmers and supplied them with the fertilizers, as you can see, manufactured fertilizers to improve their production in their farmers, that they, in return, they will provide me with the crop that they will yield. And that is where they have applied the manufactured fertilizer to improve the soil and hence to improve their production. And as we can see, due to the improvement of soil fertility, these people have been able to produce much as they expected. And after the production, as you can see, that the crops look nicely and they are growing healthy, different from the way they are without the fertilizer. And that is the outcome after the 6 months in the region that invested. People use 6 months to 7 months to get the harvest ready. And yes, that is ready for harvesting. And there is the maize ready harvested and ready to be converted to any form of other products, such as flour, maize flour, which is ready to be sold, but also they can be sold as the way they are, as maize grains. And that's how we can generate the profit. I can either wait for the price to rise for the maize grains, or to convert them into the final products, which is the maize flour, which can be used in different uses in home and even the market. But also it has to be known that in agriculture, there are a lot of opportunities, including indirect investment, as it was. As you can see, that we can support farmers through the contracts and get something in return through the same contract as I did. And what I can say, that it is possible for youths to be able to invest in agriculture indirectly while they are doing their other businesses, because it's also a paying business in real. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Nice, Bertha. You're passionate.
Great job. Hey, it's great to know you've got people. I'm just looking on YouTube. You've got people tuning in from Canada and all around the world. It's really lovely.
Oh,
what a lovely presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. For some reason she cannot unmute herself in this screen. So now Tufui, you're the next. Are you ready? Otherwise, we'll start again. We might need to start over.
Are you here?
Okay.
Is he here? Tuntufie, are you there?
He's on the call.
He's on the
You can
call?
see, I can see his name on the call
Okay.
with video playing and.
Is it, wait, sorry, I can't see him for some reason. And he's unmuted. All right, Tuntu, are you ready?
I think he just needs to unmuting his mic.
Oh, okay.
He's unmuted.
He's unmuted,
Yeah, he's unmuted now.
He was unmuted before.
Yeah, he was. But I don't hear him saying anything. Tuntu?
We can't hear you, Tuntu.
Yeah, don't want to start without being able to hear him.
I might recommend you go into your audio settings on your Zoom and you can select your microphone. It's down in the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom app and you just click on audio setting. I think we can hear you now. Nope, I think you're muted again. Or muted for the first time. Maybe come back around. There's a possibility. But Tuntu, you could just go in there and change your microphone to your same as system or external microphone or your headphones. Maybe you don't have the correct input selected. In the audio settings inside the microphone icon in the bottom left-hand side of your Zoom.
Or should we go on to the next one while he tries to sort out his...
Yeah, maybe go on to the next one, I think.
Yeah, maybe just go on to the next one for now and then we'll get back to you, Tuntu. Okay. Skip all that. So next up we have Pendo. Pendo, are you live?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Are you ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Pendo Sanimo and I'm here to present you on how does the young generation in Tanzania navigate with these fast changes due to coronavirus. I'm going to speak on the impact of COVID-19 and in my presentation, I will much based on positive impact of COVID-19 in Tanzania. So in my presentation, I will deal with these three questions and how does the young generation in Tanzania generate with these fast changes, and I will discuss.
Hello?
I think she got cut off the internet. Yeah, she's muted. There, she's back.
Yeah, so the youth in Tanzania have tried to innovate many things that can help society to fight against COVID-19. As you can see, this is an example of ventilator machine innovated by a Tanzanian youth to help the society to fight against COVID-19. Okay, provision of the education to the community on how they can stay safe during this COVID-19 season. Many youth has took this opportunity to educate the society. Young generation also took this COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity for entrepreneurship, as they established many things on how to make money using this pandemic disease as an opportunity of making money. What is that? Okay. And this is another example of innovative machine, hand wash made by a Tanzanian youth which can help the people to fight against COVID-19, and it also helped them to apply their skill and education in practical way. Also, many of in Tanzania have taken this opportunity to try to reach all people of all level, like making masks affordable, cheap and affordable masks that everyone can afford. So by doing this, they can make money, but also they can save the community. Also, they have tried to make a personal protective equipment which help the caretakers at the hospital while taking care of those people who are affected, so that they can protect them at those who are in the side of being affected more than the others who are staying at home. Also, we have applied online shopping and home delivery, whereby instead of going to the market whereby people will be interacting, they can use online and apply many programs, they establish many programs and ways of learning through online. Students can get material through online instead of going outside, whereby they can spread more the disease. Also, during this corona pandemic disease, and the youth have taken this opportunity to educate the community on how to stay safe, how they can they can cure the causes of this disease, how they can stay safe during this whole period of COVID-19. Also, these have been the chance for youth to think big. So instead of just thinking about employment, they are seen as examples. During this period, many people have to stay at home, so they are not working. So instead of depending much on being employed, someone can establish something that he can do to make money apart from employment. Also, this has give the youth the opportunity of finding the ways of reaching the whole people of all group and avoiding classes in the society. Of course, we cannot avoid classes, but we can make a way of providing the service that can be afforded by all. Also, they have spread awareness through social media. So instead of just doing other things, we can make spread of awareness about COVID-19, how it can spread, how you can stay safe, and everything about COVID-19. Many youth have also conducted researches based on COVID-19, as you can hear how to make sanitizer, how to make mask with using local material. It is the one of the COVID-19 research that have been done by many of in Tanzania. But during all this, there are challenges that they have been facing, and one of the challenges
Can someone unmute Pendo?
in developing countries. Another challenge is lack of enough capital to invest for future. So someone can innovate something, but they can only apply for a short period of time because they don't have invest for future. So they will just invest it for the time being for the present period, but they cannot invest it for future. But also there is another challenge of low support due to poverty. Means someone can innovate something, but there is no support because people in the country cannot afford to get that service or to accommodate that service, and that's become a challenge. Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah, I might. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing. I want to maybe the muting and unmuting situation, just so you all know, if you press the space bar or if you accidentally press the space bar, it will mute you. So be mindful of not to press the space bar to mute yourself.
Right, sorry. So now I think that we're going on a bit of a small break because I thought it'd be nice for the first speakers we've had, if anyone had any questions, want to delve deeper into what they talked about for a little bit. So just about a 5 to 10 minute break, and then we'll get back with the last 3 speakers we have lined up for this evening. So yeah, the floor is everyone's. So unmute and let's see what happens.
Well, it's been a really great first half anyway, and it's really amazing just the fact that we're all connected and people are tuning in on YouTube. And these presentations will stay on YouTube. People will be able to watch this feed, and so it's a really nice way to start spreading the message out. Tell us a little bit, can somebody tell us a little bit about how the pandemic, what stage you are there? We've gone over the peak in Tokyo, although the last few days we've seen this second spike come up. What's the situation like with you guys right now?
Anyone want to answer?
You can keep it short. I'm just interested. It's so nice to be connected, and we don't really hear too much about the situation in your continent.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I just want to let everyone know that they can unmute themselves right now and join in the conversation. I feel like I'll do a lot of the talking if it's just me on here. But I mean, right now, like, we're not on lockdown. I know quite a few places still are. Go on, chime in.
Right.
Oh, well, mainly I would say it's the economic challenges. Most people were inside, indoors. Personally, like me, I was indoors most of the time, though I do work with the church. But most people that they came even in our church would complain about the economic challenges that they would experience. It's not easy to get customers to come and buy their goods because everyone is complaining about how low their income is.
Right.
So I would say mainly it's the economic challenges that really affected most people, especially around my community due to the COVID-19.
Right.
Yes,
and
hi,
is the COVID-19
I'm
still increasing? Is it still increasing, or can you see it?
Actually, in Tanzania, our country, our president said that COVID-19 is actually over by faith. So we are believing. We're believing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Emmanuel.
We haven't heard of any active cases.
I wanted to kind of respond something. Yeah. I also wanted to add a little bit something on that. I think we've been, I must confess, we've been having this conversation even in our meetings to discuss the situation and of course in different views. But I must say first, I would like to let everyone know that officially Tanzania is a middle income country. So we are no longer a poor economic country. We are in a middle income country. And just for you to be in context.
No, I was chiming in my own opinion due to personal experiences. People were saying that their income was really, really low to the extent that it's hard for them to go to the market or even to buy day-to-day goods. That the income became very low.
My point was to maybe to tell to everyone that our situation was a little bit different. The way we handled Corona was a little bit different. Actually, the government started giving out data on the cases and then it stopped. So they did not issue any data. And of course, after it stopped, what happened was we had no curfew, no lockdown, so everyone was allowed to move around. No curfew, no lockdowns. And again, there were measures to wash hands that were taken by the government. And of course, the state, through the president, issued prayers, official national prayers for the and which was actually for 3 days. And then we also had the Thanksgiving prayers. So I would say our approach was a little bit different from how our
very interesting, you know,
particularly our colleagues, actually, if you look at our neighbors, and it even resulted to some conflicts in neighbors because we weren't having misunderstandings. But I must say, now if you walk around Dar es Salaam wearing a face mask, people will be like surprised because we've started forgetting about Corona. And maybe my colleagues will add to that. We have started forgetting about Corona, and I would say if you ask a person who has never been out for a month or 2 months, he will tell you the Corona never existed. So it's different. It's very different, and I must say maybe this might have been attributed by the aspects of mobility, because you know, we have issues with like I might say, different from maybe our colleagues who are in the developed country and where you can easily move from one country, one region to another.
Right.
It's a little bit
very
different
interesting
here in Dar es Salaam. Yeah, so there are issues, but our approach was wrong. But I must say, on my side, my perspective, it has worked. Now everything is back to life. The schools have opened. Everyone is doing that. I would say we're back to normal by 99%.
Yeah, so we're watching
really
it. Yeah, we're watching it with concern, being cautiously optimistic on the one hand, but also being very cautious in gatherings. That, for example, at university, in classes, you know, students should be wearing masks. Yeah. Dear students, the teachers too. It's, you know, it's a little bit of a personal decision, let's say, but it is being surprising that in Tanzania, for some reason, you know, that hopefully will be investigated. So far, there hasn't been an outbreak of the proportions of other places that had, you know, a level of isolation that's not like lockdown. But we'll see. I think we have to see, you know, as a mystery as everywhere in the world. But a lot of people are exercising caution as well, at least wearing masks, washing hands. It's ideal.
Yeah, that's a great update. It's super interesting. I think, excuse me, it's super interesting for people around the world to hear that. Yeah, so it's a really great perspective.
But this is one thing
on that. But the great thing,
I just wanted to say this thing that Emmanuel was saying, that we wonder ourselves that the lack of connectivity and the low density of Tanzania in the rural areas could be playing a role that we don't quite understand, you know. When we compare to the density of other large cities, it's much lower.
Yeah.
But we still don't understand why.
It's really interesting. Yeah. We should keep in touch about that, because I think that PechaKucha has a unique ability to connect with cities like this and talk in the same language. I think you should do a presentation about that in 2 or 3 months' time, about what COVID has meant in your city or your country. Certainly in Tokyo, we wear masks all the time anyway, because during the flu season in the winter. So go on.
Oh, so sorry about that. Sorry for interference. Mainly in Tanzania, we would only wear masks when we are going to public areas.
Yeah, sure.
But we have beautiful dengue masks.
Yeah, no, we need some African
beautiful
masks.
We have very
beautiful. Wow.
And they are very, they are cotton, very comfortable and very safe, because they, you know, they're.
Wow, that's great. Anyway, the great thing about COVID, the great thing about the pandemic is that it's meant that we've gone on. Before, PechaKucha wasn't online like this. There were just live events in cities. And we didn't want to connect because we thought maybe people wouldn't go to the events if they're online. But we've gone online. We've had over 80 events. And it's great. This has allowed us to connect like this. So we hope that you can come and present in one of our events in Tokyo, but virtually through these Zoom calls. Okay, back to you guys.
Yes. Unmute. I guess we are ready to start.
Before we go back, did we figure out the mic for Tundu?
Apparently he's ready to
Hello?
start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi,
yes,
Tundu?
This is Tundu. Yes.
Okay, great. I'm just
Can everybody else mute yourselves? Sorry.
Okay, let me
Or I
share
will.
screen and get back to the presentation.
Yeah, so my name is Tuntufia Mokalinga, and I hope everyone is okay. So we have all been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, one way or the other, and it has affected the whole world in general. Well, in my society, I have noticed mostly two kinds of impacts. I mean, two impacts from this pandemic: it's direct impacts and indirect. And when we talk about direct impacts, I'd say these were the most noted impacts in the society, like people's relatives being admitted in hospitals, getting news of death tolls rising, and many other problems like transport and others. But when I say indirect, I would like to say these are the ones that affected people in a different way. Like mainly, I'd say these were mental effects, which actually led to mental exhaustion. Now, when I say mental exhaustion, there's a lot of factors that trigger mental exhaustion during the corona pandemic, which is very understandable because I'd say a lot of the youth felt the pressure, not because, and it's mostly because they have never experienced a pandemic before. That's what I'd say. It's most of the youth has never experienced this situation. And like the pressure of worrying about our loved ones getting sick. In this part, the youth felt the pressure from the worry that the elderly might get in contact with the virus. And the World Health Organization warned that elders are the ones who get mostly affected. And this causes anxiety. We've seen that the youth to worry about our loved ones can easily cause anxiety because we were used to a certain type of lifestyle and things suddenly changed. And mostly there's nothing we were able to do about it. And I'd say there's the stress of wanting the normal life or the stress of missing the normal lives we used to live, you see. This has affected a lot of youth because they were used to a certain type of lifestyle, like going out with friends and blah, 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 but things have actually not worked out. And there's the anxiety of losing your job, like lack of jobs. You see, most of the youth in my society, they depend on daily activities to earn their incomes. And when this happens, that the virus is in effect, a lot of progress is hindered. So we come to the stress of lack of jobs. A lot of people now have been pushed away from their jobs due to the fact that we have to work from home and stuff like that. But not everybody can actually work from home. And some people stay away from the jobs so long and they find they're actually fired or something else, you know, like it's really stressful to the youth. And another impact I'd say, something else I'd say is how the community handled this. I'd say the community didn't actually prepare itself with mental effects. You see, there's no mental centers or there's no mental health centers to help the youth actually overcome this, and it's been stressful. And in my community, there's no such belief as mental health or mental stability. So this leads to there being no help to whoever is having a hard time mentally overcoming this pandemic. And in our society, nobody really talks about their mental health, and it's rare. It's a very rare thing in my community, seeing someone speak on their mental state or how they feel. It's hard to see someone talk about the problems they're facing or what is bothering them, you see. And in my community, saying that you're having mental problems or you feel mentally weak, it's a sign of weakness. And this actually leads to a lot of people not opening up about how they feel or any help they need to overcome any problems they're having. mentally. So you wouldn't expect a community that does not believe about mental health to actually have a mental health center. This is something very hard. And I have noticed that this comes from the no problem, no solution fact, because people don't actually speak about their problems. So the community does not know. So we don't believe, we don't talk about it. It's a sign of weakness, no mental health centers. And at the end of the day, we are left with no choice. Even those who actually figured out that they are mentally exhausted, they have no place to go because there's no help. There's no place they can go and talk to someone about this. And I'd say, I think it's time for change. I think people should know that pandemics can cause mental health exhaustions or mental health problems, and the change has to happen to help the youth overcome the effects that they have experienced during the pandemic. And support is a very important aspect in a community. We need to believe that mental health is actually one of pandemic effects, and it does take a toll on the youth. And also, we have to help them overcome the problems. Helping them overcoming these problems should be a priority. So I think every day people need to open up, relax, and know that it's okay to loosen up and talk about your mental state. When we start talking about this and listening about it, when we listen to people about this, then we can start looking for solutions. But I have seen in my society, there is a lot of mental stress. And I'm sure that from the corona pandemic, we have all learned something. Out, we have to form mental health centers because the current planetary conditions is too much global warming, too much pollution. We have to get ready for these pandemics. And I think people have to be ready mentally. Thank you.
Nice job, Tinta.
Great job.
Where is she?
Well done. So let me, sorry, gotta maneuver this. Right. Mohammed, are you ready? Hello, Mohammed?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay.
Hi.
So, this is Bob. Bob lives an unhealthy lifestyle. He decides not to exercise, eats junk, does not practice mindfulness. He spends most of his day, lazing around, sleeping, and all of us know that that's not a very healthy lifestyle for anyone to adopt. And so this is Bob, about 6 years later, who he decided to push all of his shenanigans for later on in his life, and his body clearly could not cope, and he's clearly paying the price for living an unhealthy lifestyle for right now. He pushed all of his problems for later. So okay, so I couldn't get a picture of Earth millions of years ago, but let's pretend this is one. Here we have Earth millions of years ago, before humans even existed, flourishing with green trees, flowing streams, animals, and no threats. No climate change crisis, nothing. It was just beginning, and yeah. So this is a picture or an illustration of Earth currently with the climate crisis that we're undergoing, and again, us and the leaders that we have today are pushing for the future generation to fix. The reason I put Bob up in the first slide is because us and our future generations are going to pay a heavy price for pushing this problem for later. A lot of people think that climate change is just concerned with global warming and the planet heating up. And to be honest, we can't blame ourselves because again, headlines just focus on this and they don't really tell us why the planet heats up. And I don't think any of us or most of us, take the initiative to actually read about these things. And yeah, so a huge contributor of climate change, the climate change crisis is plastic. Everything we buy today comes in plastic, food, toys, packages, computers, everything. And to make this plastic, there are plants that are running round the clock, emitting thousands and thousands of tons of greenhouse gases that again affect the environment. Now you're probably wondering why am I talking about this? You don't own these corporations. There's nothing you can do. You can't stop buying food. So the problem just keeps getting worse. Um, there are things that all of us can do, small things that all of us can do and take tiny steps towards helping at least do our part in this climate change crisis. So how many of us, to be honest, have gone to a restaurant, ordered a drink, it came in a plastic straw and we drank it without guilt. Um, a straw is a single-use plastic thing. Once you use it, no one's gonna want to use your straw. You're not gonna use your own straw again. So, okay. I get called Dora for carrying my own spoon and fork around, my own silver spoon and fork around, because apparently Dora has everything in her bag and I have everything in my bag. Investing in a spoon that's probably 1,500 shillings is probably $1 if you're looking in international markets. It's weightless, you can't feel it in your bag, and you're not really contributing to the climate crisis. Similar to the plastic spoon fork thing, you can't really carry your own glass around. You can carry your own bottle from home, and that way you're not making the climate crisis worse and you're not spending on water. Not that it's expensive, but win-win. Yeah. Taking a break from all of these tips, last year Indonesia announced that it will be moving its capital Jakarta to another island that I don't really, Borneo. Okay, so because Jakarta was sinking underwater, climate crisis researched, investigated, and came to a conclusion that icebergs are melting, causing sea levels to rise. Okay, this is too quick. Okay, living in a country that's still trying to sort waste issues, thankfully, we're really grateful for that. It's easy to, be part of a problem, just get a small piece of junk plastic, toss it in an alley, or, just be part of the problem. It's easy to just hold on to your waste, especially if it's a small piece of plastic, just shove it to your pocket. And then when you see a dustbin, you can just dispose it off. This one was a hard one for me to accept, mostly because I like to still think that I'm a child. Balloons, all of us, like to have parties, helium balloons. Yes, they look good, but all of us after these parties go home to sleep, and then those helium balloons float away and end up in oceans. Precious marine life then ingest these and suffocate to death. Okay, now imagine everyone you knew own their own cars, go to school, or go to work in their own vehicle. Just imagine the amount of carbon emissions everyone would be like all the cars that everyone would own. The carbon emissions they will be emitting. Tanzania has a beautiful public transport system, as demonstrated in the image. Let's take advantage of it. Again, taking a small break, just want to give you an image of what this crisis is all about. These images, the right one is a jellyfish, the left one is a plastic bag. Now imagine you're a hungry sea turtle, and it's really easy to get confused between these and eat the plastic bag, dissolve the jellyfish, and then suffocate to death. So let's be more mindful. Currently, the bags we use in Tanzania, we like to call them eco bags or whatever. Thank God we have done plastic bags over here. There's a lot of things we like to reuse these eco bags. There's a lot of things, if you look around yourself, you can reuse. Boxes that packages come in, newspapers. So just try adopting the reuse, recycle mindset in here. So don't let this image fool you. You don't have to attend each and every beach cleanup you come across. What I was trying to say with this image is just form a sense of community around you. Join a club that raises awareness for the environment, or join a club that actually helps clean the environment. That would be good. Post about it on social media. Tell your friends about it. Maybe hold a Zoom call about it. And if you can't do any of the tips that I've mentioned, which is really sad, you could just talk about it. Read about it, educate yourself more about it, post about it. Along the way, surely you will come to know the climate crisis is a real thing, and maybe you will inspire a few people to make change, who will inspire other people to make change, and everything. Disclaimer, I try to be funny here. I feel the need to say that. For those of us who have watched Titanic, this man in the movie fought this iceberg, and in real life, if you don't know, he's an environmentalist, fighting to save these same icebergs that were the reason the Titanic sank. So I just wanted this to be a small inspiration kind of thing. And if that doesn't inspire you, then let's think of our future generations. Do we really want to leave for our kids a planet that's at the peak of extinction, or do we want to leave them a planet that they can remember us in, a planet that's habitable, and a planet that's beautiful, where trees actually exist? And that's pretty much it.
Well, Henry, good job, man.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Eric Priva from Ardent University, pursuing Masters of Architecture and Urban Design. And this is a story about a life of a typical Tanzanian college or university student. So usually there's a lot of excitement and cheers around when a student is selected or signed up to a university, and he's considered or she is considered as a winner or having won in life. Unfortunately, upon being enrolled, they find themselves that they're in a system which is driven by the school routines and peer pressure. And this has been branded as maisha ya chuo in Swahili, which is basically different from the lifestyle or the life in the streets or in their homes where they come from. And then again, unfortunately, when students get to school, they forget their backgrounds and the big goals out of the peer pressure and out of the control from the system. And they fall victims to the system, and they find themselves being mocked on social media through memes, and instead of being praised and being looked up to by the entire community. Now, at the same moment, the same student has their big goals and has to focus on their affairs as a student and has to focus on becoming the successful professional they wanted to be upon applying for the university courses they wanted to apply to. Now this becomes a bit very difficult to stick to the plans, as they're being bombarded by different unbearable costs, including the cost for accommodation, meals, and school notes. And at the same time, they're jobless. And maybe if you're lucky, you'd be supplemented with the student loans. Now, all this makes students to lose concentration, and it changes their circumstances, and it makes them lose focus on what they are studying and what they are pursuing, and it makes them fail to be grounded and to focus to the future. And now this makes them tired, and most of the students towards the end, they'd be very tired of the school life, and all they want is to graduate and go back to the streets. Now, most unfortunately, upon graduating, a student would be having very, very big goals, and despite the day being a very cheerful day, it also marks the end of the title as a student, and it marks the title as a responsible citizen, whereby he has responsibilities, including financial responsibilities. And then upon getting to the streets, the student is bombarded with having to pay student loans and having to carry on financial responsibilities from the families and for their personal upkeep. And this is has been seen as a great challenge. And then the same student has to go around looking for jobs. And most of them are very choosy when it comes to jobs. And they want a certain desired jobs based on their profession as per what they studied. Now, what I'm posing here is, what if we could change the paradigm instead of, so as we can save the students from all these hectic journeys to and from carrying CVs and looking for jobs and being told they're not well experienced, despite the fact that they're right from school. So the paradigm shift introduces student employment services, which will create employment, whereby we can create an employment portal for Tanzanians formally employing students while at school, supplementing their incomes and giving them the experience needed for the future employers. So through the system, a student would be linked with different partners or different employers, and they could formally apply to a job opportunity upon being accepted by university. Well, you can think, isn't it better instead of a student graduating and staying at home and then waiting to apply for a new job? Now, this can be made possible only if every person within the education sector in Tanzania can agree to work together. This includes the students themselves, the universities and colleges, and the different boards like Tanzania Commission for Universities. They all have to come together and agree on how to help the students and create the portal. Now, the students through the system can work on different formal works and even the informal jobs, which are tagged as not very classic or very important jobs, like assisting in researches and assisting in maybe caretaking, like you can see as portrayed by the image, different casual works like cooks, performances in different artworks and preaching, cleaning, and they would be paid with that. Now the good thing is the systems are already working in other places. Like at Harvard University, the minimum wage for a working student is 12 USD per hour. Now all this would equip the student with the necessary experience for future employment, which would make them stand out among other competitors, as they would be equipped with skills that would make them unlikely to be choosy in the task they want to take on. Now, all this would bring a win-win situation to everyone, including the students who would be equipped with the experience. The universities would be having students who are self-reliant, and they would be good advocates in the streets. And even the employers would be having employees who are well-grounded and who want to learn. Now, the services will improve students in interpersonal and entrepreneurial skills, and it will ensure a better future for them. Now, I provided a few references where you can read more about the Harvard and other universities and on how this service is working. Thank you.
Well done, Eric.
Thank you.
Hi, is Maria there? Maria? Hello? I mean, Maria was here before, so I'm hoping she's still here.
Yeah, she was going on and off. Let's see. Pendo. Okay. Maybe we give her a little bit of time.
Yeah.
She's not on the call at the moment.
Yeah, I think she was.
I mean, she is our final speaker of the evening.
Yeah.
Let me.
While we're waiting for Maria, I think I'll just ask a question or just put in a suggestion. From Eric's presentation, I think it's clear that in most universities, the number of students that graduate every single year way outpaces the number of job opportunities that are present at that time. And so if that is a realistic realization, how do we then join the future of the youth with the present? Like, you know that 400 people are going to graduate, but there's only 20 job opportunities. Why? How? I shouldn't say why. I should say how can university institutions, especially like for us, the young members of the City Lab team who are still in uni, even with Eric and all the other people presented here, with that realization, how do we find a connection? Because you are maybe currently everyone is thinking individually, like, I'm going to get a job. So when I think of me personally, there's like maybe 10 offices out there. But if I think of the 400 people who are graduating, it's 10 against 400. So how do we make it so that it works out? I don't know if anybody has any views or points on that.
Hey, Edgar, can I suggest that you keep on that thought to Eric? Maria was able to join again, and I know she had also some internet issues, so let's take advantage of her being back.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Maria.
Yeah, you sound great.
Hello, so sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry all the setbacks that I'm experiencing this evening. First of all, there is no light. So anyways, I'll just jump into the PechaKucha. So I'm talking about mental health awareness especially in our colleges and universities in Tanzania. See, depression and anxiety has been two of the main mental illnesses that most students experience. Me, myself, I'm one of them. I'll talk about me. First of all, how many people talk about mental illnesses in Tanzania? Not so many. People are very shy and they are very about it, or even going to see mental health professionals about mental illnesses. Students feel a fear, and they feel that they're always by themselves, they're always alone, that it is something that they cannot discuss with other people. So first of all, when I say that people are afraid of talking about these things, they're afraid of saying that if I have a depression or something that is disturbing me, I cannot tell somebody. Even I cannot even tell a friend. And this is something very, very severe in Tanzania. People don't even want to talk about their own personal issues, even with their own family or friends. So I made this post mainly to say that it is okay to say, it is okay to speak up, it's okay to be open. Me, I am a mental illness patient. I'm right now taking 2 medications, risperidone and clobazepam. I was in India, I was studying there, and I fell into a depression. So what is functional depression? Functional depression is when somebody can still be doing other things, they can still be going to school, they can still be talking to people, they can still be doing their daily jobs, but they are full of depression, full of anxiety, full of other illness that maybe I haven't already spoken about right now. So I just want to emphasize that it's okay to see mental health professionals. This could be counselors, psychiatrists. Please go and see them. They are there to help you, they navigate for you what it is to be a good and a well-balanced individual, a person who has mental health. You shouldn't just be physically healthy, you should also be mentally healthy. You should be somebody who can speak up and not be afraid of saying what ails you, what disturbs you, so that this makes you a healthy person and a healthy individual in the society. Another thing is that keep telling the stories. When you tell your story, people will know that they're not alone. If you tell somebody that, hey, I've been through this and have experienced this and this, they feel like, oh, I can actually connect with you through your story. And when you tell somebody a story, we feel that there is some kind of success, some kind of overcoming that they will go through. So it's okay to keep telling people that it's okay to talk about whatever it is that ails them. Mental illnesses are there. First of all, I want to say that suicide is also caused by mental illness. Many suicide cases are due to people not speaking up, people not opening up, people not being able to speak. Also shining a light on the mental health. Oh.
We may have lost Maria.
Yeah, I think she may have dropped off Brian there.
Yep.
Yeah, her connection was weak.
That was a beautiful message of positivity and
yeah, and the slides are really
self-care
lovely as well.
Yeah, I think
she was breaking up a little bit beforehand, yeah, or it was on my side. I don't know.
Oh no, she is. She's online.
She is? Okay, she's back online. Can she finish?
Online. Yeah. Yeah, we allowed to finish. I know she's offline again.
I think she's on and off. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Should I stop sharing the screen? We're going to thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for everyone who's here. and everyone who's come, everyone who chimed in. Thank you to the PK headquarters for coming through. It's been great to connect with you guys. City Lab, you guys are doing amazing work. I think right now there's some space again to unmute everyone. Everyone can unmute themselves. If you have any questions for all the speakers, the ones that have just come, the ones that started, then please get involved, ask your questions, even if it's just about life, if it's not even about what we talked about. But I think a lot of interesting things come up, and I didn't actually know that a lot of the students are taking on board mental health this much in Tanzania. It's not, it's like a brand new topic that's really being ventured, not really talked about before. So it's really great and healthy to see that happening. So I'm happy that discourse is coming through.
Yeah. Can you stop sharing the screen so we can see if we can see him? Yeah, okay. That's great. Yeah, so we can see more people. Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
No, it's hopefully been from our side. I think from our side, Brian may want to say something too. It's been really fascinating to get an insight into your city and what's happening, and all the things that all the speakers touched on. It's a very different window to the one we normally look at. It's also been really nice to look into your homes as well to see. I'm in my bedroom right now. It's nearly 3 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo, so it's, I'm having to hide. So, but thank you so much, and let's keep in touch. And we'd like you to present more around the world on these calls about your culture and what goes on with you.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead. Go, sorry, Priscilla, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian. I'll speak later.
Well, Chi and I spoke about just about that very thought, Mark. So I hope we get to invite some people from Dar es Salaam to our next Tokyo event. And I think I invite you all to tune into our event next Wednesday. And it would be really fun to be able to exchange some presenters and have just more exchange between all of our cities and make our world a little bit smaller and more empathetic. And before I let go of the floor here, in traditional PechaKucha tradition, we always do a group photo. I know not all of us are online right now, but if we could do our best to give us a little wave or a little, we do in Japan, we do the bonsai. I'll give you guys a countdown and I'll do a little screenshot. I'll give a chance to everybody hop on who can
whoever can join the video just for a little bit for the picture.
Yo, that's a lot of pictures.
All right, this is a beautiful slice. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hey. Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Over to you, Priscilla. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say that it's great to be connected, and the courage of all of our participants just to jump in this global presentation, but also to talk about incredibly personal, tell their stories in very strong way, and dealing with all these issues that you guys are seeing, our unstable connectivity, but just like plowing through. It's very inspiring. I hope we will get over this pandemic with more of an understanding that we actually need support systems. There's just so much that individuals can do on their own, but it's really inspiring to see how everybody's trying to really find ways to move forward and to talk. I think that communicating is a part of what we are working on too, for people to be comfortable to communicate clearly about their concerns, and this was really, really great for us. It's one of the silver linings of this pandemic that cuts connection between everybody.
I know, it's really amazing. It's really amazing how the whole world's getting closer together through this.
Absolutely.
But I wanted for our youngsters to talk a little bit as well.
Sorry, guys, can I say something?
Yes, you may.
I hope I'm not. It's probably going to be serious. I just want to start off by saying that I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, just a nice breakup. So my question was, coming back to the youth and the corona and the pandemic, with the idea of working from home, I was thinking to myself, like, who are the youth and what group suffers from this whole idea of pandemic of corona in terms of Tanzania? So though we have the youth who may suffer from all the problems you've said, you come and realize that the youth are connected to the age group that is above and probably to the age group that is below. And so it's not necessarily the youth that are affected, but maybe the youth are part of a chain. But I'm seeing, like when I was little, we were called when we were little, we were told we're the generation of the future. But we have gotten into the future and it seems like I don't know where that future is that they talked about back then. So I feel like even as we're addressing the youth, I think we're addressing them as a group of people, forgetting that in like 10 years, there will be new youth and we would be no longer maybe in the youth category, but the word youth or the group youth will always remain, which means then there's probably a challenge where whatever we are drilling into the youth doesn't get carried through in an ideal situation would be whatever Mohammed said about straws. If we all, the youth, were like, okay, no more straws. 10 years from now, you find a group of these middle-aged men and women who don't use straws. But somehow, 10 years from now, you'll find me and maybe Emmanuel and a couple of others with so many straws just chilling, as if the problem is stagnant with the youth. So I was thinking, how do we create action-driven interventions so that it hits me, and when I move from the gap of the youth, I move on with it, and then the next group can maybe learn from me, or it can learn from a vivid example, as opposed to, having an intervention or a policy or a law. Like how the university system works. If you look at a student, he passes through university. If you look at a lecturer, he has seen hundreds and hundreds of students go through. So the student always thinks this is my time, but the lecturer is probably like, oh, I've seen like 30 versions of you come through here. So how do we make it so that youth isn't no longer like a university where it's a level you go through, but like something that we carry on, like the things we learn can get carried on past the youth period, and so that it's much easier for the future generations to learn from us, as opposed to it just becoming a recurring problem, generation this, all these generation names and all these problems just keep. So I don't know how all these things we've spoken about, how they can be embedded so that we're able to, grow with them as we go on.
All right, Edgar, that was a long question. Since it was more a reaction than a question, were you directing this to Eric because of his presentation?
I don't know. Eric's question was like, how do you deal with the number of students always being hundreds times more than the number of opportunities? And this one was just about the whole discussion of youth. How do we make sure that these interventions are more like they're learned and executed experiences, as opposed to things we just heard in a PechaKucha event or we read in a book, and the book remains as a book and I continue as the ignorant person. Yeah.
So if I can sort of try to simplify the question a little bit, how do you all see, those changes that you're trying to make, that we are trying to make, to be more long-term, to carry through, and that the generations that come after you, that will be the youth in 15 or 20 years, to have learned from that and to move along, right, Edgar? So people are not repeating, stories all the time. Does anybody have a comment about that?
Yes, I would like to start with responding to the first question from Edgar. The entire presentation was to solve the problem of unemployment to youths, because it's true that youths or graduates are way many than the job opportunities that are around, or job openings that are around now. So the idea is students would be employed to jobs that are not specific to their professions. For example, as an architect, you could work as a research assistant to someone. So when you graduate, you could work as in the research field. Maybe you could be working as a handyman. Maybe you'd be making furniture while at school. So when you graduate, you wouldn't be waiting for an employment at an architectural firm, but rather in Swahili we say you'd kujiongeza, and as in you'd take the initiative to open your own business in the in the furniture sector. So that in general, that would add to the opportunities, or it would reduce the number of youths looking for employment in the formal sectors. So it would be solving the problem that addressing. And on making it long term, that is why I'm proposing for it to be very formal and very integrated to all players within the academic sector, whereby a portal would be created by the Tanzania Commission for Universities, which is the commission handling all university and college students. So in that way, every student who passes through the commission would be even 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, they'll be still going through the same commission. So when you apply for a university there, you'd be given a form to fill in, maybe with an option for the jobs, and then you'd apply for a job and a course and a university. So when you get enrolled to a university, you'll be enrolled to a job too. So that would be lasting for generations to come. I'm not sure if I've responded well.
Hey guys, Brian and I are going to have to jump off. We're actually going to be talking on another event in Germany in a few minutes. So I want to say goodbye to everybody. It's been great connecting. It's been great looking into Dar es Salaam's world, and we hope to see you soon. And keep in touch if you come to Tokyo.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Will it keep streaming on YouTube?
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, it will. It
All
will.
right.
I'm still lingering here, but Mark is hopping off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark has to
Okay.
hop off to go to another one, but I'm going to be on both.
Okay. All right.
And I just want to, I'll chime in on this question. I think it's, I can see Priscilla looks like, she seems like, I can tell you're an academic, and I think you're a teacher. And I think I can just tell by your attitude that you're like a cool, you've held on to those student values that I can hear in these questions. and I think you have, and I think I got two little kids, and but I was a passionate, environmentalist, and like thinking about these ideas when I was a student. And I think you just have to like persevere and hold on to those values, and it's just kind of like sticking to it and not giving up on it, so that's all I wanted to say. But I just think it's fortitude and willpower and a belief that don't give up on those ideas, and there's, I don't know if there's a silver bullet beyond that, but I'm sure you guys, and I'm curious to hear, I will have some more ideas on it. But Priscilla, you keep rocking out in the free world, and I think I don't know if I'm right on that educator thing, but that's just my
Absolutely.
all right.
But also an architect anyway.
I figured. Yeah, I figured.
But thank you very much, and thank you, Brian, for this. This is really great. Well, one thing, but I would really like to listen from you. But back to the work that we do at the City Lab, and it's not by accident that we are having this conversation. And one thing that we look at a lot is looking what's happening in your neighborhood, in your territory, right? We sometimes I talk about the territory and people look at me and say, oh, you're complicating, but it's really like what's happening around you. It's so important to ground, your life, your experience. Usually when we look at the big numbers in terms of jobs, in terms of development, this discussion about Tanzania now being a middle-income country, it's very abstract. But when we look at what's going on around us, we have a sense of the city, our neighbors, but also our opportunities. We talk about precarious areas, poor areas, but sometimes there's a lot going on in these areas, as we see with the projects that we do. They're very special. And it takes a little bit to improve the situation, and not, some major, enormous, multi-billionaire project. So for me, for the students, the researchers that I work with, and which include a lot of you, is really reporting what happens on the ground. But we wanted to hear from you guys.
I'm just going to ask another question so people can answer, I guess. I was going to ask Mohammed a question. Mohammed Kara, like if I was to ask you to, how would you actualize, let's say I said I needed you to help me get rid of straws in Dar es Salaam, let's say, because I think the other challenge we face is we have problems, but we don't have alternatives for the green solutions. So if I was to ask you, and I'm talking in terms of, you know, that university has juice in glasses, and maybe with the whole issue of sanitation and washing. So how would you maybe help get rid of straws? Let's say if that was one thing that you could maybe eradicate at university, maybe what would you do?
Okay, to be honest, quite a few places that I've been to, I have tried, speaking to people. They'll tell you. So I think, to start with, people don't really know that, these straws are contributing to the climate change crisis. Because a lot of places I've been to, a lot of people that, I know, run, all these juice businesses and everything. I speak to them, telling them that, hey, these straws that you're, selling and, selling with it along with your juice and drinks and everything, they're really contributing to the climate change crisis. And a lot of them are unaware of it. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, what is a climate change crisis? So I think the starting point would be educating everyone on climate change. I know that sounds basic, but it is what it is. So I think that's step one. And then step two is actually, taking forward steps to eliminate these straws and, glasses and spoons and all of these kind of stuff, and replace them with, glass and everything. So yeah.
Hey, I have two daughters and they're very much into the reusable straws. And I got one just for you today, Mohammed. I actually, except when it's really thick smoothies and cold, I just don't use straws. And see, not plastic as well.
Same.
But
Yeah.
but I got it just to honor your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Stainless steel one.
Yeah. So, so again, you see these metallic straws and bamboo straws. It's a nice alternative. However, it's not produced in Tanzania, if I'm correct. And importing, not a lot of us, would take the extra step forward to, just import them. So, if you're a restaurant, you can drink it with your mouth. It's not a big deal.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's go drink.
All right.
Okay, I think everyone's gonna take a sip from there because clearly.
I have something to add there.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. In Tanzania, as we know us as Tanzanian, we are very reluctant in different stuffs, and it's hard for us to cope with or to adapt to the changes, especially when it comes to the things that have to be banned in order to conserve the environment. As we refer to the case of plastic bags, it was hard for the Tanzanians to accept it, but when it was spoken by the president, it became a law, and therefore it had to be enforced. That's where we're able to get rid of the plastic bags. I think it will be also okay if it will be banned through the using the authority, because as individuals, it's hard as it was to the plastic bags. They were polluting the environment and we're seeing, but yet we are not ready to get rid of until the time that the president announced it and became the law, and when it was to be enforced. As we can see right now, there are no plastic bags and the environment is at least attractive compared to the previous days. That is my contribution.
Thank you for your question, Edgar. I was also very interested about this discussion that some of you brought about, mental health. Maria, I think she got out again, but she was so brave to talk about her own story. But a lot of you talking about, you know, this exhaustion of dealing with, now it's with the pandemic, but, you know, just with school and doing a lot of schoolwork, and then you don't know if you're going to even have a job after to, you know, continue with your aspirations. So how do you how do you all think? Eric had this idea of some sort of like a continuation, an internship, a more organized internship service after the graduation. But how else? What do you all feel about that? What are you doing about it?
Yes.
Edgar, yeah, sorry. Yes.
Among the graduates at the street, and the challenges that we face with these internships is that most of the people who need the scholars for internship, they need the people with the experience. For instance, you may find that they have written down the qualification of the people that they need, maybe with 1 year experience, and when you look at yourself, you find out like you are the very fresh graduate. So you don't, and this has been, but from what Eric has been speaking, like we should start it when we are at university. For instance, at our university, there is this called training, industrial training, after the completion of a year of study. We are being sent to the industrial training places, but still people, they don't accept it as an experience. So it has been a challenge. I don't know about other universities which you do not even conduct that industrial training, but for the case of our university, it has been advantageous to us that we are conducting that IT industrial training for us to get the experience. But when it comes to the reality, they don't accept it as an experience.
Yeah.
Hello, Bertha.
Yes.
If I can also add to that. So what I meant is, apart from the industrial training and the professional trainings, students could also be maybe at other university, who does the cleaning of their classes, who slashes the grasses. You see, the jobs like that, students could be the ones who are doing that, who are the librarians. Students could be the ones who are being hired to do all that. They would be paid and having money to run their lives, and they would be gaining the experience out of their professional experiences. And then with that, it would actually promote these kinds of jobs. When you graduate, you wouldn't be seeing maybe cleaning, you wouldn't be perceiving cleaning as a lower job based on your stature as a graduate, but you would see it as a normal job for you to go for. And while you're waiting for employment, you would be maybe start doing cleaning services for people, and you'd be making money. That is what I meant.
I've got your point, Eric, but may I share my experience when I was at university? I was doing my business. I was selling T-shirts. I was printing, and even for the people who didn't want the printed one, I was going to Kariakoo and sell them through orders. But one day I sold them to one of the lecturers. The problem that existed, that my lecturer asked me, what time do I start? And I answered, like, I do start in the morning. You know what brought out after there? It was the time when I was presenting my my dissertation. It's where we quarreled, that madam of mine. Just because I was doing business, she didn't believe on doing business at the same time studying. So it brought me with a confusion. Maybe for other universities, but at RD there are some lecturers who are very complicated on that.
Yeah. Bertha, I think you're talking about such an interesting thing that sometimes people don't understand the needs, like could be the lecturers not understanding the needs of the students, or something else. But really understanding that you were selling T-shirts because maybe you had to help with your livelihood, right?
Yeah.
So if we
Yes.
talk a little bit in terms of like way of thinking, when we talk about changing way of thinking, I always get a little bit nervous because we don't want to be a coach or anything, but I think that a lot of the work that we do at RD, but also in many universities, is really to empower the students, so the students can tell the professors, the people above them in the hierarchy, listen, this is what I need, this is what I need to do, this is my reality, and people like understand what's going on, why people do what they do. And then hopefully, like Eric was saying, you also recognize that there's some work that might not be seen as ideal. That's work, but I don't know if I'm following the same line of Eric of doing work that you don't want to, but just understanding that you do a lot of things to operate daily. It might be cleaning your house, might be doing some technical work, and more diverse than when we think about a specific professional formation. And sometimes you have to remind professors about that, or your bosses for that matter. We are on you. If you want to, we can keep going on and on, but if you have also if you want to control the time here, it's also your
I think this is really good, so I'm happy to keep it open for a little bit longer.
Okay, that's great.
People had their say. I think more and more people are coming out to talk, so that's nice.
Right.
So
All right.
I think maybe like another 10 minutes if you guys want to continue discussing everything you're discussing. It sounds really interesting. Good.
Okay, thank you. Also, I would like to get away from the point and comment on Mohammed Carr's work. Sorry,
yes.
Is someone speaking?
Is there anyone with YouTube and Zoom on at the same time? No, that's okay. Go on, Eric.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying I would like to comment Mohammed and add on something. On the part of reusing and recycling. That part. Also, another initiative could be maybe to recycle things. For example, there are people who are called Zaidi recyclers and several companies like that, whereby they would sort the waste, the plastic waste, and then they would recycle them and maybe create pavers from plastic bottles, create pavers from nylons and stuff. So that is another way. It's actually a very good business opportunity too. It solves issue.
Of course, I think it's not only applied to plastic and things like that. I have seen pages on Instagram that recycle old clothing. So they get old jeans or any old clothing, and they create bags out of them, or create other clothing accessories or stuff like that. So I think it's really a matter of getting creative and just making to, you know, wanting to make something, wanting to make a change and everything. So yeah.
I wanted to suggest, just to keep the conversation going. And I know some of our own research assistants at the City Lab that have very interesting stories of this, this beginning of their careers, doing lots of things. Ooh, nice. Doing lots of things. And so if one of you would kindly just share some of your experiences, Upendo, Guamaca, some of you that haven't spoken so much and have good internet. I know that some of you were having internet issues as well. Just, share a little bit of this.
Internet issues. Such a setback.
No.
I was not able to really engage in the whole conversation and in the whole PechaKucha. I'm so sorry about that. But so far, I'm following up with the little that I can. I'm following up with the conversations and the discussions that are going on so far.
Welcome.
Thank you.
That's great, Maria. We heard your presentation, and thank you very much for staying on despite all the difficulties that you were having.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah.
I was offline for a bit. I hope I'm not gonna repeat something, but I think something else that would help in terms of Eric's argument would be adding value to labor, because with a lot of youth, value is placed that, if I studied architecture, I should become an architect as the guy on top, but low value is put in maybe the guy who's a bricklayer or, just carrying the cement bags. So I think if there was value put on labor, then the youth won't chase a position, they would chase work. I would say, okay, I'm a graduate architect, but I'm gonna take on painting because I enjoy painting and I can paint, and there's value on it which pays me well, and then I don't have to go and you won't have 400 people all looking for this one position, and then labor would be diversified because there would be value throughout. But I think currently, even if you were to put a post at uni and say who wants to come and cut grass, I think the number of people who would come, even if you put some amount of money, would not be that much because of how they view it, and they perceive it as maybe something that is done by people who haven't gone to school. And so it's like a labor that has been devalued. And so I think if maybe there was value added on different levels of labor and work, people might be more willing to do these jobs.
So Edgar, and it's actually very interesting when as some jobs are being devalued. For example, as an architect and as a landscape architect, when I'm practicing in the streets, you'd find some clients would say, "You are just drawing and you're just drawing, and how can you charge this much just drawing?" So they're taking it as an artist.
Arts and craft.
And also arts and crafts. And when it comes to landscaping, they fail to understand that there's a professional landscaper and a gardener. So they take it as, I'm just doing gardening. So you can see if students are open more value when we graduate, it will actually be the first ones to start for the future generation. I'd say that, yeah.
Can I ask, how many of you see yourselves working in the informal sector? And what does that mean? How many of you have informal, would say, if you think about it, you work in the informal sector. And what's the meaning of that?
Informal sector, please, Dr. Priscilla, can you please elaborate more what you mean by working in the informal sector?
Emmanuel, do you want to comment?
Yeah.
And then
okay.
I think you will answer, Maria. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Maybe I can just kind of respond to that. So basically, when we speak of informal sector, it's that sector that is outside, out of the government or state regulations. So if it's operating outside the scope of the government or the reach of the government, particularly maybe issues of taxation. So if you're operating, you're not paying tax, we are classifying you as part of the informal sector. Or if you're not, the activities are not being regulated, we could classify that as an informal sector. Of course, this word is debatable, but yeah, I wanted to add a little bit on the conversation going around. I think on my perspective is, I think we need to redefine, particularly on us in developing countries, to redefine our terms and how we group our jobs, and with the so-called formal jobs and informal jobs. I'm currently part of my time. I work as a real estate agent, and I've been working. Of course, I'm official. I studied it. I did my bachelor in land management and valuation. But then, I work a lot with the informal, the so-called informal real estate agents, who I would personally I'll never call them informal, because at some point they know more than what I know. They do more than what I do. And again, as we all know, more than 75% of the Salaam is unsurveyed. So you can see, if even in terms of the operation, the majority of real estate agents here are the so-called informal. So if we were to base on popularity, I would say the so-called informal are the formal ones, and those who are calling themselves formal are actually informal because they are minors. But again, so this is an ongoing conversation. Maybe we need to kind of go back to the drawing board and decode this term and have our own way of saying who is actually informal, and not saying that if you're not, if you don't have an office, automatically you're informed, because that is a narrative. Like, for you to be formal, you must have an office. I work with agents and they tell you, why should I have an office while people come to my house and I live there? I grew up there. The first house I started to rent out was my own house or my parents' house. So I think there's a way we should redefine first our narrative. And I think there's a good example that has been done by the government. And for the Tanzanians, you'll be witness on this. We had the so-called street vendors, and they will, those who will move around with selling small supplies like maybe sweets or water and all that. Then they were actually restricted to move around selling their items. And then the new government came, and they asked them to pay for an identification card for like 20,000, which is equivalent to $9. And then from that, they're allowed to go anywhere to sell. They're no longer being disturbed. So should we say now these people who were informal have now turned to be formal? No, I think they've now been identified, and that illegality that is being attached by informal is no longer there. So maybe to address the issue that Eric has been saying, and other colleagues on the jobs, we need to really have a way of defining our situation, and not necessarily copy and paste the definition of our colleagues or other part of the world, which may not necessarily apply in our context. I think that would be my input.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Actually, your explanation is quite clear. And personally, I work at a church, and it's an NGO. It deals with children and youth that do not have enough, they are in poverty situations. So they don't have enough support and funds to fund them to school or to fund them in whatever projects they want to do or what they want to do. So the church that I'm in is actually my mom's church. So I work as a helper. I help the children there and the youth there. So if there is anybody like, if there is any donators or people who come that want to come and donate some money, some food, or some kind of help, any kind of help to these people, to these children and to these youths, they would come and they would see me, and I would be the one to help them navigate how they can help the children there in our church. So I would classify that as an informal job, if you would ask me. So yeah, I am already kind of working in the informal sector.
And it's doing you good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, we talk a lot about formality and informality, and yeah, Emmanuel, for example, he does his work really, as we say, in this in between of, you know, in the real estate area, for example, or where a lot of people rent rooms, you know, with a without a contract or just with a simple agreement. And, you know, we can get very complicated discussing about this and discussing about the differences. I was really talking about the type, not who you serve to in the job, but really, you know, do you have you know, you can start very simply, do you have a contract or not? And when we usually, you know, when I graduated as an architect, I had, I guess, two jobs plus building the house of my parents, you know, and like doing a bunch of stuff. But the point was really to another important aspect of this today is just how much security you have in your job as well. And when we have a pandemic like we have now, you know, do you have some security if you have to stay a month at home or no, you know, or you stop your work, you stop any income, and then what does that mean? No. And again, it's just questions for us to ask ourselves, and not to come up with a solution right now, but just reflect on you know, on our condition in this environment, and learning again from this pandemic. No, I think you, Maria, were the one that said that right now, even though right now in Tanzania, people are not talking so much about the disease itself, and, you know, the things seem to
Nobody talks about it. Actually, most people say that there is no COVID-19. It's gone completely, for sure. And they're so assured about that.
Yeah, but a lot of people talk about the lack of jobs, right? Especially local communities that relied on tourism for their survival, and that's gone now. And then, you know, there's this gap now to be fulfilled when people are not coming. You know, again, we don't have the solutions, but I think we have many more questions now to you know, to formulate, to try to solve.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I wanted to add something to what Emmanuel said about Tanzania, and that we should look for solutions that are basically touching on how we move and how we do our systems. Let's not forget that our world is now a global village. It is not just Tanzania as Tanzania. When you speak of Tanzania, you speak of Africa. We are all almost connected. You're going to speak of East Africa as a connection of countries. And not just that, we go beyond just that. We go beyond just Tanzania. We go beyond just East Africa. We go beyond just Africa. We are going to the whole world. Look at how just COVID-19 started. It started in China, and how fast it moved from Asia to Europe to America to Africa. It was in a jiffy, in less than a year. So everything that is affecting the world is affecting Tanzania as well. So we cannot just seclude ourselves and say that, Tanzania should look for solutions that will better themselves as themselves. No, we should look for solutions that are gonna help us even to get into the global markets, not just stuck to what we are and who we are and just the way we are used to things here in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of an addition. Thank you very much, Maria. And I don't want it to be a back and forth conversation, but I think I agree with you that it's very important that we think of also our opening up, and we are not we're not alone. But I think also we must agree that moving forward, we must even as we are globalizing and the world is becoming as a village, we must understand the fact that we have differences. We are different. We are different in values. There are things that if you do while you are maybe outside, maybe you're in the US, when you do them in Dar es Salaam or in Tanzania, that is completely no. And again, these are things that as we move forward, it's up to us now, when you move to a different location, to see how you can fit in, and not to change what you see there, but to fit in that context. Because again, for example, that's why I would say that why Tanzania was able to beat Corona was dealing with fear. If you realize when the Corona issue started, people were there were curfews or lockdowns, and people were forced to stay inside. Now that brought fear to people, and again, with those numbering, you see the number as if countries were competing in who has a higher number of deaths. So this again, kind of put fear on people. And I think I would say one of the achievements in Dar es Salaam was to make sure people address the problem not based on fear, but based on proven facts that really apply. So you cannot say, for example, in our context, you cannot say people should not go out. Because again, we live on a daily basis. You work in the morning, go to work to get money to eat the next day. This is the life. So if you say I should not go outside, that means I should die inside. So either you die for Corona or you die out of hunger. So I think these are issues that we really need to, again, with all due respect, with international collaborations, we really must learn to understand our context. And instead of thinking of making a world a flat for everyone, that's not going to happen. We have differences. Our task is to see how we can fit in, how can we, if you're moving to a different location, how do you fit in that context? And I think this will bring the so-called mutual respect, respecting the value you see in that particular area. And I think this will also a basis for a collaboration between people, between countries, and not necessarily seeking to see what you used to see it in a different location, because we are, at some point, we are different. We are very different.
Okay, hello?
Yeah, Tuntu.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on, it was a previous point about the youth and employment, I think. After graduates and employment.
Yes.
What I wanted to add is I think the youth in the university should catch up to something. There's this fact, supply and demand. You see, in Tanzania, previously, a couple of years back, there was a very high demand of educated people. There was a great possibility of an undergraduate to get a job, but right now it's hard because there is more graduates than the actual jobs. And when you go to apply for a job, they want a person with maybe 2 years of experience or 3. And you as an undergraduate, you do not have that experience. So that turns out to be a problem. But if the youth in universities understand one thing, that they have to cope with this situation. I mean, you don't have to fix your mind that you have to graduate or attain your degree and get a job or go straight to get a job. You have to you have to be compatible. You see, we're at an age where it's so hard to get easily employed, and it's actually tough times with these pandemics. So I really think the youth in universities should know the fact that it's not a 100% guarantee that after university you get employed. So that you have to have a plan B. You have to have a backup plan. That you have to find something that you're good at on the side. It doesn't have to be something too fancy or anything. I mean, surviving is surviving. So you just have to find something you're good at. You never know, whatever small thing you're good at, what it will turn out to. You don't know. So let's not, us as the youth, let's not fix our mindsets into getting employed, because there's a whole bunch of us graduating. There's a whole bunch of us graduating, and not each one of us can get employed. So we have to cope with what is going on, and we have to maneuver this situation. We don't just have to stick our heads into looking for employment and complaining, blah this, blah that. We have to actually, we just have to cope with this situation, that there's too much of us and little jobs. There's too much graduates, too many educated people. Not like the past. In the past, it was very few. You could actually handpick the educated people, and few of them even had degrees. But today I don't know, there's a lot of us with degrees. There's even having a master's certificate, a master's right now is actually like a normal thing. So we should really cope to look on life in the other side, not the path that was set up in our minds from when we were growing up. We have changed. That's all I would want to add. That's all I could say I can add.
Tutu, that's great. Can I ask, are you still at university, or are you already on the job market, so to say?
What?
You, Tutu. Are you still at university, or are you on the job market already?
Yes, I'm still studying.
Okay.
I'm still in the university.
MB2.
Yeah.
Having a master's already.
Right, guys. It's getting to 9:30.
I heard something about culture when I was speaking to my son, and I wanted to ask a question or talk about the fact that with the way the world is going, you have, like, for example, my wife's British, right? And I'm in Tanzania. And let's say in the UK, there's regulations about COVID. And in Tanzania, there's different regulations about COVID. And so if I am moving between these two countries, I can no longer assume that I'm purely Tanzanian or purely of one state. We have Dr. Priscilla, who was in Dar es Salaam, and now she's in the US. There is Dr. Natalie, who was in Tanzania, and now she's in Zurich or Germany. Even as youth, back in the day, it would have been not a thing as much, but now you can no longer think of yourself as I am Tanzanian, because you are also a citizen of the world to an extent. And if you are now moving about, you can no longer move with your system, or you can no longer stick with one form or thought. You always have to be aware of that. Even though I have always been in Tanzania, I'm primarily Tanzanian. My friend or my colleague, Dr. Priscilla, is Tanzanian, but she's Brazilian, but she's in the US. And then you have Dr. Natalie, who's like a citizen of like 30 countries in the world. And so where would the person like Dr. Natalie, who is in Tanzania, how does she respond to maybe the pandemic? She cannot, it becomes a different line of thought when you think of it in that scenario. And I think even with culture, even with things that you say, but this is Tanzania and this is how things are, it doesn't necessarily say it's because you're Tanzanian that we're not sick. Maybe there is another reason that we're not aware of as researchers of why the pandemic has not come. So I think our reasoning should remain on the fact of facts, because if it does come, we would at least be safe, rather than saying, let us depend on tradition or things that we're not sure of. And then when the event comes, we will suffer. And I guess on that point is when things like investigation into local medicine can actually happen. You know, you can actually now say, okay, we're going to research the traditional medicines and try to find scientific reasoning and prove that they work and take them out of the world. But if we do not choose the path of facts and we go on tradition, we will really easily be put down, because once you present your ideas, oh, you can use this plant, the world will say, where are your facts? Where are your numbers? And then immediately we will lose ground. But if we grasp the idea that we as Tanzanians are intelligent, we have people who have studied, we can scientifically prove, I think that will put us on a better hold to say that we are not wearing masks. Why? Well, we've done research and discovered all Kuria people are immune to corona. And if you eat the Kuria ugali and you have scientific data and it proves that, I think that will give us a greater footing than if we say, well, you know, we don't really get it because, you know, we're Tanzanians, and we just end there. And coming back to what Tuntu had also said about education and tying it in with culture, I think the other thing that youth face a lot, that maybe we didn't speak about a lot, is the parental watch that we have as Tanzanians, how parents sort of, and I think it's a worldly thing, parents sort of dictate what you should do, what you can do in university. So even when you want to make an intervention, maybe when you say, I want to opt for something else, your parents would push you, or you find youth are afraid to think outside the box, like what Tuntu is saying, like to think of a project that might employ me, because parents would probably not think it would work out. So they'll say, just stick to applying for jobs, just stick to looking for that job. And then you find a lot of youth spend a lot of time chasing a dream that does not get actualized until really late. And then, you know, by then maybe they have lost hope or faith in themselves. And then it's difficult for them even to become entrepreneurial.
I have something to add on that. I just want to challenge Edgar that even within Tanzania, the mainland Tanzania and Zanzibar, we have some things that we share in common, but there are some stuff that we don't share in common. So the same applies to the whole world. We cannot deny that there are things that are locally cannot be found in the world. And we cannot describe Tanzanian context just by referring from other countries. We have different things that differentiate Tanzanians from any other countries. And that's why even the East African people cannot say, you cannot find a Tanzanian in Kenya and then being unable to know that this is Tanzanian and the other is Kenyan. That is what makes us to accept that there are things that we have to define as Tanzanian, as African, as not as other other countries in the world. And there is where it comes what Njavika has said, Emmanuel Njavika has said, like we need to have the definition from our context, not referring from other countries. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Betha. That's exactly what we need, definition from Tanzania. But I think what we have now, like I will say something, Betha, you'll say something, you know, you go to many people, they'll say something different. So when they ask you, what is the definition of this thing that according to Tanzania, we don't have it. And then it's so easy for maybe the Western ideologies to come and influence us. But if me, you and Emmanuel will say, okay, Betha, let us research on this thing and have our own facts from Tanzania by Tanzanians, I think that's a better approach than if I say, you just think what you want, I'll think what I want. And when someone asks us, you just tell them what you think is correct. You get what I mean? I feel like it's easier to justify our reasoning if we have personally done our research as Tanzanians in Tanzania and we come up with facts. Because I can tell you the truth. I don't know if you know this growing up, there was a thing that was told, if pregnant women eat eggs, the babies will be born bald. You get what I mean? So if I just leave with that statement and say, well, I heard it, it must be true, and I don't research it, and then someone else told me, well, the actual thing that they were saying was they were trying to prevent women from eating a lot of eggs so that the baby doesn't get too big and so that it doesn't become a difficulty in childbirth. So there's those two stories. One will tell you this probably scientific and like, oh, okay, that makes sense for a place where there's not so many doctors in the villages. But someone else will just say, no, if you eat eggs, your baby will be bald forever. And so it's like, one uses fear to get the same message, the other one uses reason. So I think as Tanzanians, especially university students, we're at a place where we can now make those informed decisions where we are like, wait a minute, this book says this about Tanzania, but is it true? Can I go to the field and look it up and justify it? I think that's what we need.
Yeah, that's great. Edgar, if I can, sorry, you guys, I know you have a point, Maria, but I want to see how, check in with she again. I think we're running out of time. We can have the last comment from Maria, but I also wanted, sorry, Edgar. Sorry, Emmanuel, but I also wanted to say hi to Nathalie Jean-Baptiste, or Dr. Nathalie, as we know her, who was the head of the City Lab, helped design events such as this one, the Pecha Kucha. Thank you, Nathalie, for joining in. Yeah, again, I know that she told me that we were running out of time. I'm not sure if she's connected now. If she can, let me unmute her. But yeah, so 2 final points from Maria and from Emmanuel.
Hello, everyone. Actually, my point was, I'm going to second everything that the previous speaker was saying about having an egg and knowing that this is a notion whereby we just need to eat it. We just need to stop. Okay, I need to say bye also because my connection will be bad.
I think we lost
Sorry,
her.
Maria. Yeah, we are losing you. And did we lose Emmanuel as well?
Possibly.
I think we lost them both. Natalie, did you want to say something?
I just want to congratulate you all for this. I think I was not the whole time. I apologize, but I think these conversations are the beginning of, you know, a series of reflections that we can do, and it is proven that we can do them organized from Tanzania and invite a number of different young scholars, thinkers, practitioners to share, I mean, a number of different issues that concern us all, both in Tanzania and outside Tanzania. So I wanted to just say thank you to all of you who have given your time basically to like to create a space for candid conversation about the issues that we're all dealing with. And I hope that this continues, and that's not a mini Pecha Kucha. I believe that's actually quite good, a nice turnout.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Yeah. She is there.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. And thank you, Brian, for helping us with facilitating, but also helping with all the logistics.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right.
Next time we'll collaborate more, and we'll have a longer lead in, and it'll be even more fun. But we learned so much tonight. It was a great opportunity to collaborate.
Yeah,
so
that's
thank
great.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks
you
to everyone that's made it.
Yeah. Thank you. So do we just end the meeting? I'll just hang on here since I'm the host.
Yeah, you can just end the meeting on your side on the Zoom, and then I'll just end it on the YouTube.
All right.
Right.
And bye to you, Brittany.
All right.
So long,
Thanks all for
everybody.
your great ideas.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. This was great. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. All right. Eric. Does anybody need help? Yeah, okay. Tuntu, can you leave? Do you know how to leave? Okay. And you too? We'll talk more later if you want, because I want to finish the recording.